Brownstone. I'm your host, Dr. Michele, and you are listening to Numbers Don't Lie, where you learn to get out your feelings so you can make the best decisions for yourself, your family, and your business. We are in March. This is Women's History Month. We've had some great episodes so far, just reminding us that we are making history every day. We don't have to look back to 100 years or 50 years ago. You know, we love Madam C.J. Walker. We love Coretta Scott King and the women from Hidden Figures. But 10 years from now, 20 years from now, people are going to be talking about us too. So I want to always keep that in mind, that you are making history every day. So whether you're in your local community, whether you're on a national stage or platform, or maybe even international, you are making history and you are important to the story that's going to be told 50 years from now. Now, March is also smack dab in the middle of tax season. So if you haven't started doing your taxes already, getting it together, you know, jump on it. It's about time, because April 15th be here before we know it. And if you're a business owner, you know, chop, chop. So in order to better prepare us for tax season, I brought on a tax expert, a CPA. She's amazing. She helps entrepreneurs be able to keep generational wealth in mind and how they save money through taxes. It's another strategy. So I love her perspective about generational wealth, because it's something that we all need to focus on. But the way she helps entrepreneurs is through taxes. It's y'all. She's thebomb.com. She saves entrepreneurs like tens of thousands of dollars in taxes. She could take it, flip it down, show you what you're missing. Y'all, let me just bring her on. Welcome to the stage, Atiya.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. So Atiya, let's jump right in and tell the people a little more about yourself, because I know I didn't do you justice. They know you the bomb, but you got to understand like who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Atiya. I am the owner of The Savvy Accountant. It's a full service CPA firm, and I'm a CPA, actually dual license. I'm licensed in Canada and in the US, and I love taxes. I know it's it's a funny thing to say, but I truly love taxes, and I love the way how everybody's situation is different. So at The Savvy Accountant, we are savvy at solving your tax issues. We are here to help our savvy family save $1 billion when it comes to taxes. So
Wow.
I'm here to give you guys those tax savings.
You slid that $1 billion and I didn't even know that was your mission. Okay. I love it. And you made me sound a little bit less nerdy when you said I love taxes, because we were like, oh, I love data.
It's funny, but yeah, I do. Yep, I've always been a numbers girl, and so
Ooh. Well, you're in the right place, because we don't
we
know.
are. I know, right?
You know, and so guys, the title of today's show is Tax Tips from a CPA Who Knows Their Numbers. And you heard it from her. She said, I love numbers. I love this stuff. So perfect title, perfect person. And we're going to go ahead and get into it so you guys can be better prepared for tax season. So even if you can't implement some of these things this year, because it may be too late, maybe you've already submitted and got your return, or maybe you owe, whatever the case may be. But moving forward, I want you to be able to have some things in your arsenal that you can pull out. And if you're an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur, I definitely want you to tune in and turn it up, because she services you guys. Okay. So Atiya, based on your experience as a CPA, what patterns should people look out for in their financial, the financial data, financial statements, to make sure they're doing stuff right? Like they don't want to get audited. Like what are some patterns they can really be paying attention to?
That's a really good question. And when it comes to business owners specifically, a lot of them, most of them, they know what they generated. They know the income that they made. They know if they hit 6 figures, if they hit 7 figures. They can tell you that at the drop of a dime. They know who bought their stuff. They know how much everything is being sold for. But on the flip side, a lot of them aren't keeping track of their deductions or expenses, the things that matter when it comes to reducing their tax liability. So they are focused on the gross, but they don't take into consideration what's going to make that gross a net number. And that's the taxes are based on the net number. So you want to make sure that you're actually tracking all of your expenses, everything that you're putting into the business to generate that income. So a lot of times I find business owners, they're, very interested on that gross number. If I generated 6 figures, if I made 7 figures, but they miss out on the things that are going to help them when it comes to actually reducing their tax liability. So they need to be aware of those numbers.
What is, like, based on your experience, what are some common things, like those patterns you've seen of a commonly missed deduction that most of us like, oh, I didn't know I could do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So common missed deductions, I think a lot of times people think things that sound too good to be true. They tend to think that they're not true, when in reality, the tax code was written and it was written to help you understand strategies so that you can reduce your tax liability. So I hear a lot of times from my clients that have small businesses that the home office deduction, it's like a red flag. So none of them take this home office deduction because they think that it's going to make them get audited. And I tell people, I'm like, this is written into the tax code. You're able to write off a portion of your expenses that you use for your home if you have a home office, as long as you have a designated space in your home that's for your business. So unfortunately, it can't be your dining room table because you use that as a eating area. But if you have a designated space, you're able to now take the square footage of that space divided by the square footage of your entire home. And that percentage that you get, you now can write off things that you are paying for in your home in a total. So you have your cable, your utilities, all of those things. If you are renting, you have your rent. If you are a homeowner, you now have your property taxes and interest and insurance. So those are all things that you can actually write off in proportion of the home office. But a lot of people think that that's a red flag for some reason.
Mm.
And it's not. It's a valid deduction that you might be missing out on because you just think that it's not something that's real.
That's good. See, that's the value of having a CPA, because when you try to do stuff on your own, that's what happens. Like, I think I haven't done my tax on my own in years, because once it started getting complex, I'm like, no, no, I don't want to do things. I was one of those scared people. It's just like, oh, I don't think I can do that. So I was like, let me get an expert, because
Yep.
I want my deductions, but also I don't want to do anything wrong, because I don't have time to be audited. I don't have time to be fighting the government. Okay.
And so I come from the world of audit. So I was in auditing for 7 years. And I tell people all the time that audits don't have to be scary as long as you have all of your information correct. So the thing with audits, I think they scare a lot of people because, you're getting questioned, but you have to look at it I like to look at things parallel. The government used to be, when you filed your taxes, you used to submit everything with your taxes. It used to be a whole packet with everything submitted behind, but now everything is e-filed. So they're not getting the same backup information that they used to get. So they have to find a way to cross the T's, dot the I's, because they are still having to manage these things. So they're going to have to start choosing select people to verify if what was submitted is accurate. So as long as you have everything in order, an audit shouldn't scare you. The only reason an audit should scare you is if you're being fraudulent or something on your return and you don't have the proof to back up what you wrote on your tax return. But don't be afraid of audits. They can go really quickly as long as you have everything in order. Like I said, they just need to check things because people are just e-filing. There's no backup going in. So it's really just taking people's word for it. So yeah.
Okay, so everybody that's out here that has integrity, let's do a sigh of relief. Okay. So we get audited, you have your ducks in a row. I keep receipts, everything. So
Yep.
you're not, so that's a part of the information that we're talking about. Like, because data, when I say data, people think automatically it's talking about numbers and Excel sheets. Like, data really is just information. So make sure you have all that documentation. So if they ever call your name, they do that random sample and they call your name. I got my stuff.
I got that.
Since y'all like to bring receipts on social media, bring your receipts to the IRS if you have to. So thank you for reassuring us, Atiya. That really does help.
No problem.
So the next question I have is, what advice would you give to individuals or business owners who are preparing for tax season, in terms of because we kind of touched on that, what information they should actually keep?
Yep. So that's a good question. And so I have kind of like 4 tips when it comes to getting ready for tax season, so that you don't have to always get ready and you stay ready. So the first one is going to be get organized. When it comes to taxes, organization is probably going to be the number one tool under your belt to make sure that everything is in order. So if you're not an organized person, find a system that's going to help you stay organized so that you're able to be ready when the time comes, because being unorganized is going to make you miss out on deductions, miss out on tax benefits that you could have got. You just weren't prepared. So make sure you're organized, and get folders, whatever you need to do that's going to get you organized. So I don't like to tell people how to do it because it might not fit you. And then if it doesn't fit you, you're not going to do it. The second thing is know your numbers. That's very fitting for what we're talking about now, but you need to know your numbers. You need to know not only your income, but you need to know your expenses. You need to know your deductions. You need to know what is applicable to your situation. And I like to tell my clients all the time, even though you're working with a professional, you have to realize that this is a partnership. So while I know the tax laws and I know this, you need to know part of your situation, because even if I've done your taxes for the past 10 years, if you just bought a house this year and you didn't tell me, your tax return should be different.
Yeah.
But if you don't tell me, then I don't know. So you also need to know your numbers. You need to be able to look at your return and say, oh, this is missing my second job that I got where they paid me $50,000. If you don't give me that information that you got a second job, I wouldn't know it. Right. So it's a partnership of understanding your numbers and knowing your numbers so that when you see your return, when you see all these things, you can say, oh no, something's missing, or that doesn't look right. The third tip, this is for my business owners, is I call it the magical rule of 30. And it's taking an account and having it set aside just for taxes. Okay. So this doesn't mean that your taxes are going to be 30%, but I want you to take 30% of your income comes in and put it in that account, because a lot of people know we pay income taxes, but business owners, we have a lot of other taxes that we can be paying. There's sales taxes, payroll taxes. There are self-employment taxes, depending on the type of entity you have. So there are a lot of different taxes that can come up. And if you're not prepared, one of the main reasons that people are overpaying on their taxes is because they're not ready when the tax bill comes. So interest and penalties add on to that amount.
Wow.
So making sure you have the cash in an account, that's going to be the tip number 3. And my fourth tip, it sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not. It's work with a trusted tax professional. And that is not to say that you have to have a CPA on retainer, but I want to tell you that it does pay for you to pay them even for a consultation to understand what you need to be aware of in your specific situation. So even if you're not working with them throughout the year, you want to make sure that you have someone that you can actually reach out to when something in your situation changes, so that they can give you the right advice.
That's good. You said a couple of things, the organization, and knowing your numbers. That is so important, because I'm, I have a lot going on, but like I can usually pick up, I'm really good at looking over things that are important. Yeah. Because it's like, if this is a contract or like taxes, I need to make sure this is right, because I don't need anything to come back on me in a negative way. So it was like, I think it was last year. It's happened twice, actually, 2 different firms. One time, I think it was my address was wrong. I'm like, this is not my address. Like, can you update that? I don't know where you got that from. Second was I was invested in the stock market in like 2020. I think 2020, yeah, because I think it was my 2021 tax. I think they were one of those years. And I was looking at like the profit that it had. I was like, the capital gains. I said, I didn't make that much. That's not right. And they had like got a number wrong. Like they were looking at the wrong line or something. Oh. So it's just like being able to catch those things, or like I have properties in 2 states. So I'm like, I don't see my North Carolina stuff in here. Like, did you? And I give you everything. I don't play about that stuff. It's organized. This is my, I have a little organizer. This is my business organizer. This is my real estate one. There's no guessing.
You're the dream.
You moving too fast.
You are the dream. You're the
and
one.
I always think I'm not doing good enough either.
Everything is organized. I know how to go here to here. Yeah.
Girl, I have subfolders. I'm like, well, this is the organizer, but if you need to see the receipts for the documentation, it's in this folder. And it was like Lowe's on 221.
That's the type of organization that you need, because if you ever got audited, it would just simply be, okay, they send you the notice, this is what they're looking for. You would have it. Like you're even the auditor's dream, because they don't have to dig through things, and you're making their job easier. Because I want people to think about it like this. If you are to get audited and then you get an auditor and then you're all disorganized, just from a person perspective and thinking of how people are made up, aren't they gonna be more frustrated? And now they have to work with you to figure out all these things that wouldn't it be easier on both of you? And don't you want it to be easier on them? If you're organized and you can give them what they want, then okay, well,
Maybe
it's
on their
case
way.
closed. Yeah, exactly.
That's so good. I love it. And if you guys are just tuning in, you are listening to Numbers Don't Lie on the Brownstone Worldwide. I'm your host, Dr. Michele. We're talking about taxes. Remember that you are also catching us on KCCR, the Brownstone. We are live everywhere. We're on Facebook, as well as the app KCCR, the Brownstone. So you can listen to us on multiple platforms. You can also find us and follow us on Brownstone Worldwide on Facebook, as well as brownstoneworldwide.com. There's tons of great things going on brownstoneworldwide.com. We have articles up there. I've written a couple of myself, from any walk of life. Brownstone is really about telling our stories, our narrative, our way. We want you to feel at home. So you're in my home, you're in Atiya's office. This is all about you being included in the conversation. So thank you again for joining us. And I don't want you to miss out on what's going on. So I had to make sure I plugged it in right there. I'm Dr. Michele. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Mogul Beginnings. That's MOGUL, Mogul Beginnings. All things Mogul Beginnings. You can Google me too. So I'm going to bring you right on back to Atiya. She was just talking about the importance of organization, because if they have to come in, you want to hurry up and get them out your life. Okay. But I did want to also mention something you said about the last thing about getting a tax professional. Because I was like, when you're like regular W-2, the little apps are fine. Like the turbo tabs are fine. Like the government already know how much you owe. Okay. Like it's really not that much guessing, but the more complex it gets, definitely seek a tax professional. Because I definitely had to switch over myself as my taxes got more complex. Because I know 1 year, like I've had rental property since like 2015.
Let's go.
And you know, like I think that around that time was when I stopped doing it myself. It was just like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know if I'm like declaring too much.
Yeah.
Deductions. But it was 1 year. I went to like she worked at a firm. Like she was just a regular tax person. Well, she was just like a tax person during tax season. You know, some people just work during tax season. And then as my taxes got more complex, I started trading in the stock market and things. I actually got a tax firm, like where this is what they do. Like they know all the ins and outs, understand tax structures. And we'll do a free look back at your taxes from the previous year. Well, y'all, they found like $1,000 that was missed in my previous taxes. And then because they found that, it was like the appreciation didn't get properly deducted. Because they found that, it also modified my current year's taxes. So I ended up getting back like $2,000 to $3,000 just from having a professional look at what was done. So if you don't know if what was done last year was correct, you need to connect with someone like Atiya or another trusted tax person, because it's possible that you left money on the table last year and you can amend your taxes.
Yep. And that's a great point, because when it comes to looking back, you want to make sure that you get someone to do that, because you're able to look back 3 years and then you're able to get those refunds. So if you, like, let's say you had a mistake that happened 5 years ago, you might lose out on that refund because it expires.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you can get someone to look at those and go as far back as you can to get back as much as you can.
I didn't know you could go 3 years back.
Yeah, you can go you can go back as many, but if you do have a refund that's due, they do expire. So they're going to expire after 3 years.
Okay, so on the other side, if you owe, does that expire? They still want their money.
You know it does not.
They want their money then some. They're like, oh, you owe us. Dang, I didn't know.
But that brings up a good point that I tell people all the time. I have no problems with DIY. Like I encourage it. But as soon as your situation changes, as soon as something is too complicated for you to understand, that's when you need to reach out. And that's why I say, like, you need to work with a tax professional, even if they're not the one doing it. if you can do a consultation where they can, they have some tax professionals that would review something to let you know what it is for a fee, what issues they see, you can do that so that you at least know how to go forward with your new situation. But a lot of things have been happening in the tax world with the Trump administration. When they changed, they did that whole reform. Then COVID happened, and COVID was here, and that brought about different tax credits and tax situations. So your tax situation, even though you might think that it wasn't complicated, a lot changed in the tax law itself that could have made your situation more complicated, even if you think nothing changed.
Wow. I didn't even think about it like that. See, this is why y'all the professionals, because because it's the tax code, like we as individuals, regular people out there, it's so overwhelming to us. But just knowing, for me, like, and I think a lot of you may be thinking it's too expensive to work with a tax professional. There's somebody for every tax bracket.
Yep.
Honestly, it really is. I've worked with people where it was like $1,000. I worked with people it was like 400. You may find somebody that can do it for 175 if you go to the local H&R Block. But it's so, to me, it's like insurance. It's like,
that's a great way.
It's like even if like, I pay them and I could have did it myself, I can be assured that was done correctly. And I can also be assured that, listen, if something happens, I have someone that can back me up. Because one of the firms that I work with, they said, if you ever get audited, we are here because we did it. We've done everything. We can counter. And it was like, that's a part of the benefit of working with a tax professional. So it's just like, you just have that insurance that is done correctly. And if anything happens, you don't have to fight that battle alone.
Exactly. And that's a great point. Like, looking at it like this is giving you peace of mind. Mm-hmm. So like you said, there's going to be a tax professional for every tax bracket, but just understanding that you have someone that with the knowledge that you might not have, that gives you peace of mind. So that's going to add to the value of what they're bringing to the table.
That's so good. Because we got to get out of this DIY stuff sometimes. Like, we ride that boat too long. Like, it comes to a point in time where you can, first of all, you don't have time to do it. If we just be real, like, I'm at a place, I'm like, okay, I really got to get me a bookkeeper to do this regularly because I don't have time. Like, this probably my last year organizing, like, because I do the organization, I let someone else do the tax, but even the organization step, we'll come back to that.
It takes time.
It's a lot. And so I'm like, this probably be the last year. So your time is limited. It's precious. It's valuable. And so if you don't have time, please stop DIYing stuff. Or like she said, if you have complex things going on, like when I say I had the most happen in 2021, Atiya, I did so much.
But at least you knew to go to someone to help you. Because that's what one of my best friends says. A lot of times people think they're DIYing, but they're really DIFing it up because they think that they know what they're doing. So imagine what your 2021 could have looked like if you said, well, I did 2020 on my own, so I could do 2021. Not only do I have trading, which is different than investing in stock, like those are two different categories. Then I have real estate in two separate states, and then COVID is here. So how does that impact my taxes? That's like 5 different scenarios within one tax season. Girl. So imagine you tried to do it on your own, and then you're just like, I don't even know what this means.
Girl, I had the tax people baffled with some stuff because I did the 1031 exchange. They were like, okay, let me, girl.
On top of just having real estate in 2 states, I'm going to add a 1031 exchange to just spice things up for you. So let's take this.
Well spent on them, okay?
Let's take this scenario and see if you can do something with it.
It really was. It was like, that was like the final exam. It was like, put all your knowledge together, plus something you may never seen before. Because that's what it was. They hadn't done it in a while, or it might have been their first time doing it because it's not a common thing that happens.
Yeah, it's not a common theme if you're not working with someone in real estate. But yeah, it's definitely, I got to go research now. Okay.
Right. And then I had someone look over my taxes, and girl was on the phone multiple times. Okay, so explain to me that. I'm like, okay, this is how it worked. It was a whole thing. So that was an investment, y'all, in your peace of mind. Like when Atiya said that's peace of mind, it is so true. Like I don't have to worry about it. It's literally like a load off my shoulders. Like, here you go. And I can go about and doing what makes me great. and
Yep.
educated my people and doing my thing. Like, we're not experts, y'all. And the tax code can be overwhelming. Please just let them do their job.
Yep.
Let them run those numbers. Okay, so you mentioned organization. I mentioned something about like how I do it, and I know I can probably be better. And there are probably multiple ways. Could you give us a couple of maybe ways or strategies that you've seen people do, entrepreneurs or individuals do that makes it easier for people like you?
Yes. So what I tell people, try to do the thing that's easiest for you. So I have this little hack when it comes to receipts, because as business owners, you have a lot of receipts and you might not know how to organize them. So I tell people to create an email that says like receipts at the Savvy Accountant. And every time you get a receipt and you have to write down what it is. So if you took a client to lunch, you write down what it is and snap a picture and email it to that email address with the subject line of what it is. So now you kind of have like an email depository directory of all of your receipts, because they don't make receipts the way they used to. So like receipts are going to fade within 7 days in your wallet.
Girl.
Like they just don't make them the way they used to, the way you could have done shoebox accounting. So I like to give that little trick, because I think a lot of people, they always have their phone, they can email it to this. And then that email now becomes a directory where you can just search meals or gas or whatever it is, and you have that there. Another tip I like to tell people.
Real quick, let me just pause and say, I never knew. I never thought about that, because all of my stuff, because I do a lot of digital things, like for my property, when I have to do renovations, I literally do order pickup from like Lowe's, or I make sure I use my account so I can look it up online.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of in the big email, like the master email file.
Yeah.
Never thought of creating a separate direct. So it's like, it's all there.
It's all there.
Okay, go ahead. That was good.
And you can like set up those, those automatic rules. If you get emails in your regular inbox that is an invoice, you can just set it up so that goes directly to that email, so that everything that you need is there as the backup.
That's good. I got to figure that rules thing out.
So yeah, that's like a little tidbit that I give my clients. Another thing I want, if you're a small business owner, you want to get a digital, a cloud-based accounting software. So mostly everybody knows QuickBooks, because that's kind of the biggest name, but you have to realize that QuickBooks was created for accountants by accountants. So what that means is, if you don't understand debits and credits and how the balancing system works, QuickBooks might not be as easy for you as an end user. So QuickBooks is going to be what your accountant is probably using. But if you're DIYing it, I like to tell people there are other options. So there is Xero, Xero. So that is like a competitor to QuickBooks. I just find it's more user friendly for the end user. So it's going to be more layman terms. So it's going to say, what did you pay? So it kind of guides you that way. Whereas QuickBooks, it's an accounting software that you enter something and it's going to self-balance. So what that means is, if you let's say you get a loan, so from a bank, funds are going to come in, cash is going to come in. If you don't categorize it properly, it might categorize it as revenue because it's cash coming in. And if you don't know what to look for, QuickBooks is never going to give you an alert saying you entered something wrong. It's you entered something, it went to revenue, you okayed it, that's going to be it. So imagine what $100,000 loan coming in as revenue is going to do to your taxes if you don't reclassify it as a loan. So that's a true story. Like that's literally something that we've seen people do when they were DIYing their own bookkeeping. It's like, I didn't make that much. And I'm like, well, your bookkeeping says it. And when we dig deeper, we're like, oh, this is a loan that you categorize as revenue. Wow. So that looks like $100,000 in revenue when it's actually a loan that has to be paid back. So understanding which software you're using is going to be important, but you need to make sure you're using a software.
That is so good. I hope y'all caught that. And if you didn't, you can always rewind if you're listening to it on brownstoneworldwide.com/BWTV. That's just Brownstone Worldwide TV. Y'all need to go back and play that back, because listen, if you already did your taxes, she already told you can amend it. If get somebody to look over it, amend it if you need to, up to 3 years. She dropped so much. So please go back and listen to this. And it's a perfect place to kind of exit the show because Atiya, they got to know more about you. Like how, because I mean, you just told so much. Like, how can they get in contact with you like yesterday?
So yeah, they can follow the Savvy Accountant across social media. So it's Savvy with 2 V's, and on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media platforms. So the Savvy Accountant. They can also join our free monthly training. So they can visit bit.ly/savvy monthly training. And that's where we go in and we give tax strategies and on how you can save at least 10K on your taxes. So if you guys want that training, you guys can follow us there and join us for the free training.
Man, Atiya gave away so many goodies. Listen, y'all, you better plug in entrepreneurs. I hope you took her information now, the Savvy Accountant on Instagram. You said and Facebook?
Yep.
Plug in bit.ly/
Savvy monthly training, all lowercase letters.
y'all better get up in there and get, because she giving away stuff for free. You better get what's free. And then y'all gonna realize that you're gonna need her. Okay. Like she giving you some gems, but can you imagine how much better it is to work with her? Yeah. Listen, I'm done. I'm like the owner of the Brownstone. I'm on the flow. It was so good. Thank you so much, Atiya, for visiting. Thank you for listeners for tuning in to Brownstone Worldwide, listening to Numbers Don't Lie. Remember, you can follow us on brownstoneworldwide.com as well as on Facebook at the Brownstone Worldwide. I've been your host, Dr. Michele. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Mogul Beginnings. That's MOGUL, Mogul Beginnings. And if you're not subscribing to the Brownstone, please become a subscriber. We also have a magazine called Brownstone Living. I have a really great article in there. You know, I've put articles in there every month. So you want to subscribe. Business owners, you want to check out the website. There are also subscription and advertisement opportunities. So again, thank you for joining, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.